Hello everybody and welcome back. Today's lesson is going to be on using the green screen in After Effects and also on using motion tracking and nulls. So we'll do the green screen part first and then we'll do the nulls next. So let's get started by going to the link that I'll be giving you here on the YouTube page and as well in my classroom to my website. And you're going to go here to Digital Arts After Effects Green Screen, and you're going to go ahead and download both of these files. So you're going to go over here, click on the files, it'll open up a new window, and then you can press download. So there's going to be two green screen files that you're going to be downloading, one of someone with a VR headset and another one of somebody in front of a green screen with some stuff in the background. So what we're going to do is talk about the many ways we can use green screen and some of the options we have when using it. And then you're also going to find the picture for this little fire GIF. So go ahead and right click and save that as well to your desktop. Cool. Okay, so let's make sure we download the image and the two videos. That might take you a few minutes, so you might want to pause the video. And when you're done, you should have on your download folders or your desktop, wherever it is, you'll have this green screen video of this person with a VR headset. You can tell this was shot on a green screen. And you'll also find this video of the athlete on a green screen. It's a shorter video. You'll notice this one has messier edges, so we're going to talk about fixing that. All right, everybody, so let's start by making a new composition. I've set my composition to 1280 by 720. It's at square pixels. Frame rate of 24, and the duration for this one, for the first one, 2 seconds is good. Again, we're just practicing here. And let's go ahead and call this one, we could just name it right from the top. Let's just call it Key Green. And we're also going to write the word matte in there because we're going to talk about how we're going to use a matte. So let's press OK. Now that we've pressed OK, let's go ahead and import, file import, or right click inside of the window, import file, and bring in your footage. Let's bring in the athlete first. And let's bring in the footage. And now let's go ahead and drag the footage into our composition like we normally would. And you can tell it's a little bit smaller, so let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. We can hold Shift as we make it bigger. And it's okay if it's a little bit bigger than the screen. Again, this is just practice for now. So let's just watch this for a second. We'll see she's laughing on the green screen. Cool. Now, this is a green screen shot. That means the actor is shot against a green background. If we were in class, what we would actually be doing is setting up the green screen and shooting ourselves on a green screen. You can do this at home with any colorful screen. It doesn't have to be green. It could be blue, yellow, red, purple. Just make sure you're not wearing the same color. So you can tell she's wearing red and she's not wearing green anywhere. Except for this little patch on her jacket, which we're going to notice a little later. But if you're going to do this at home, just try to shoot your self. You can do a selfie stick, and just make sure you're doing it against a different color background. That's what matters the most, okay? But if you take a look here, you're going to notice that before we can actually do the green screen, we've got some other issues. We've got the lights here and a logo that are here. So when I go through the video, before I go ahead and apply the green screen, if there's stuff in the way, I'm going to have to do what's known as a garbage matte, or we call them mattes because we've been doing mattes before. That means we're going to click on the video, we're going to grab the pen tool, and right off the bat, before we do anything, because of the mess, we're going to go ahead and clean this up. So I'm going to start just doing a quick set of points. You could do less points than that even if you want. And I'm going away from her because usually people will move their arms and stuff, so you do want to give them some room to breathe. You don't want to cut in too closely with this matte. Now again, the only reason I'm doing this matte is because of the stuff that was in the shot. Like you can see there's a little shadow left there from the camera, or excuse me, from the lights. So I'm going to use my arrow tool to get rid of that. Because I want to get rid of that stuff first so it doesn't get in the way of me doing the green screening. Now the next step, so here we are. If you're looking at my steps, everybody, we went to import green screen footage. We used the pen tool to make a garbage matte, which is when you have things in the shot that you don't need. And now we're going to go into the effects and presets, and we're going to look for the key effects. So let's go to effects and presets. Let's go ahead and type in key, K-E-Y. And when you type that in, you're going to get a whole bunch of options. And the best one, just because it's really a strong one and it just kind of works real fast, is Key Light, Key Cleaner and Advanced Spill Suppressor. It's the third one. You'll see it's the one with the longest name. So let's go ahead and double click that or drag it onto our video. And once it comes in, I'm going to press reset at the top here just so it starts fresh just like you would. So I'm going to press reset first up there at the top. Now when we look at it here, this is actually kind of easy. Okay, all we got to do is we got to get our little eyedropper where it says screen color, click that, and then we type on the, or excuse me, we click on the color that we want to get rid of. We want to get rid of green. So we're going to grab this little guy, click here, and it's going to eat it all up super fast. Okay, now obviously it's not perfect, but it's that simple. Wherever you put the eyedropper on screen color, it will erase all of those colors because that's what the key light effect does. Now what we want to do, and let's take a look at our notes, we can take a look at the view option to see the different ways that the composition can exist. So let's take a look at that. Final result would be what you get. But if you go through here, for example, screen matte, it'll actually show you the parts in white that it's keeping and the parts in black that it's cutting. Right? So we want to just keep it on final result, but go ahead and take a look at this just so you can kind of see the different stages. And this stuff right here, not really necessary for us right now, but in the future, these kinds of things come up when we do more advanced masking. And these are the masks, and the different kinds of masks and mattes will become especially important for those of you who do a lot of this stuff. But for now, just to keep it simple, let's just put it on final result. I also wanted to show you that because sometimes this might be on the wrong setting and you might not think this is working. So make sure view is on final result. Now, if we want to eat more of the green, we can go to where it says screen gain. So over here, screen gain, we can increase this value. You see what it does. If I keep bumping it up, it's going to eat more and more of the pixels. Now, I'm doing this drastically just so you can see I don't want to do that, because then I'm actually going to lose her hair and part of her arm there. So I got to think about this a little bit. So I'm going to do Command Z and go back. Let's play around with some stuff though. Screen gain was kind of good. It kind of went in a little bit, which I kind of liked, but it also kind of made a mess. It made it look a little bit too kind of crunchy for me. If I go negative, the green comes back. So I don't want to do that. So you want to start thinking about what are the options that you're going to play with here that will make it work. And for each one of your videos, it's going to be different each time. But screen gain can help. You can click on screen matte and you can adjust the clip back. And you increase this to push the gray pixels to black. And if you do clip white, you'll lower the white to increase the contrast. Now where is that? Screen matte. Down here. Open that up. Click black. See what it's doing? It's kind of eating up the edges a little bit better. I kind of like that a little bit more. If I went too far, nope, not good. I don't want to lose her hair. I just want to come in a little bit though. For example, I want to do key cleaner now and bring in the edge radius. That is cleaning up a little bit in a way that I like. Reducing the chatter can sometimes also help some of those edges come back to life. Do we want that contrast to be hard or soft? Let's mess around with that. I'm adjusting the strength here as well. Again, for each one of you, this is going to be your own little challenge because it's every video is going to be different. But let's get some better settings here. I think I'm going to bump up the screen gain now a little bit more. Again, just adjusting as we go. And that's pretty good for now. So now that I've cut her out this way, what can I do next? Well, next I can figure out what's going to happen underneath. So let's just do a simple thing, like put a new, let's lock this layer, and let's put a new solid layer underneath. And for now, let's do a solid that is baby blue. And let's go ahead and put it underneath her. So you see now she is in a new transparent background. So you could put a picture here. You could put anything you want. It doesn't necessarily even have to be this. It could literally be anything. So for example, if I went back into my project settings and I was to find perhaps a video that I like, I could put a video underneath here, or I could find a new image, for example. Whatever it is that you put in there is going to be transparent. So let's just say we have that fire GIF, right? And this is going to look weird, but just to show you what I mean, right? You could put anything back there and it'll look like she's standing in front of it because she's transparent. But let's do the second part now. Let's create a new composition. And we're going to use the other video. So we're going to call this green screen 2. And then let's go ahead and let's import the other video file, import file, however you do it. And let's find the green screen VR video. Cool. Now this one's going to be a lot bigger, everybody. This is a higher res video, which is awesome. So, you know, it's actually even bigger than our screen, so we might want to shrink it down a little bit first. And again, I'm doing 1280 by 720 just so this will render a little bit faster. Now let's review the same stuff, but this time we're going to dig in a little bit more because this is higher res. If you're using low res green screen footage, it's going to look worse because the pixels and stuff kind of just are harder to mess with. Higher res stuff and nicely shot stuff is what you're looking for. So if you can shoot it yourself with your phone, just make sure you try to do it in a very even lighting setting, or if you can, try to light your background. I know some of us are going to be limited with what we have at home right now, but you'd be surprised what you can do with a couple house lights and a cell phone and a selfie stick. So let's now take the same effects that we did last time. Let's type in key and effects and presets. Let's click on our video and let's drag it on there. Now you'll notice that there's these 3 effects that we have that come with this key adjustment. We get key light, key cleaner, and advanced spill suppressor. It's a combo. So let's just start again like we did before with key light. And let's grab our eyedropper and let's click on the green. Now it should do a pretty good job of cleaning it. And actually, if we take a look around, it's actually awesome because this was shot well. But now let's experiment and take a look at a couple things. For example, now if you change the view setting and you go to screen matte, it'll actually show you what you're getting in white and in black. And although this is pretty good, I can see a little bit of gray inside of the VR headset. Oh, let's try the clip white. I think that's what I should have said first. Let's do clip white. Pardon me, everybody. Let's just lower that clip white. I did something like 61. And that's looking a lot better, right? And I'm also pushing up the clip black. Do you see how you might be getting some white pixels appearing in the background? So again, this is like that, it's like a tug of war. You got to push one way, push the other until you really get what it is that you're looking for. So I'm pushing them both back and forth a little bit. I think my clip black at 10 and my clip white at 47 for me is looking pretty good. Now let's go back to final result. Looking great. And now we can throw on these magic buttons, key cleaner and advanced spill suppressor. Now you might want to reset both of these. Now sometimes when you add them, they actually do what you don't want. So if you take a look at key cleaner and turn that on and off, and you know what, everybody? You'll notice when I do that, it turns everything off at once. After Effects has that little nasty habit of thinking that I want to turn everything off. So if that's happening to you, just make sure you click away and then you click on one of them. So let's just turn off Key Cleaner. Now you'll notice Key Cleaner did some good stuff and some bad stuff. If I turn on just Key Cleaner by itself, it brought in the edges, but maybe that's not something that I want. So that's something you're going to have to think about. If it's making it worse, don't use it. Advanced spill suppressor, turn that on. What does that do? It's kind of taking away the color, and I don't really know what it's doing. It's not doing much, actually, in my case. You'll notice, though, it does take away a little bit of the green that was reflecting on her shirt, but then it kind of ate all the colors. So maybe we should lower the suppression to 0 and then just kind of see what happens if we bump it up a little bit. You see it's kind of desaturating. It's very subtle. I don't think we really need it in this case because there's not much green on her, but you might want to do that on your own when you have your own project. So again, experiment with what these do and what you need. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't. Key cleaner? I don't know if we really need key cleaner. It looked pretty good without it. I'm going to mess around with the settings a little bit. It seems like it really didn't need much, to be honest. Although, if I bring up the contrast a little bit in Key Cleaner, you might notice you get some sharper edges. So again, that's up to you. Better or worse? To each their own. I'm going to go without. I'm going to just, you know what? For me, just Keylight was enough to really cut enough out here. So now let's just double check our work. Let's lock this layer. Let's make a new solid underneath. Let's pick a really bright color that we're not using, like a really hot magenta or pink, or super bright blue or yellow or whatever. And there you go. Now this video is high res, so it might take a minute for it to load on your computer, but yep, we have cut it out. So now she is on a transparent background, which is awesome. So now let's actually talk about the next thing that we want to do, which is tracking. Now, what we want to do here is if we want to track something on an object, we can use what's known as motion tracking. So we want to find some footage that has some motion, and then you want to track something to it. So for example, let's say I wanted to make it look like she had a little fireball on her forehead or in her hands, right? I have that little fireball, my little fire GIF, and I can attach it to part of a moving video. Now the computer's going to look for colors when it does this, so we have to think about something that would be easy to follow. For example, her head would probably be easy to follow because it's got consistent colors, or maybe her shoulder, right? Now as I do this, it'll make more sense. So let's take a look. We're going to find some footage. We got that. What we're going to do now is make sure we lock our layers, and let's go ahead and create a new null layer. We're going to use this to store the position that we're going to be using later. So let's go to New Null. Okay. Now let's go to Window Tracker. Window Tracker. And in the tracker, we're going to click down here on our footage layer. Let's click on our footage layer. And then the footage in my case is the green screen VR. And then when it says motion source, right? And right above that, it has the little buttons. For the little buttons above there, click on the one that says track motion. Now you're going to see two separate rectangles. The inner rectangle specifies what will be tracked. The outer is the overall area that will be scanned. So you want to set the rectangles on a high contrast area and then press the play button in the tracking options. So let's move these around. And let's say I wanted to track right here on the top of her head. So it's going to be a small point that I want to track. And I'm going to make this box a little bit bigger. Okay? And you know, sometimes you got to experiment. Maybe I wanted to, I kind of want to do the skin. I think the skin for me might be the best because there's no other skin color around there except for that. So for me, that's pretty good. Let's try to make that a little smaller still. You might want to zoom in here. Again, what we're doing right now is we're trying to tell the computer to follow a certain color amongst the big boundary, which is this. Once you figured that out, and there might be some mistakes as we go about here, we're now going to press the play button. And you'll see it's pretty good, although sometimes it falls off. And that's okay. It fell off a lot. Okay, now I'm going to press stop. Now look at that. Whoa, that looks like a mess, but really what that is it created points each moment as it was tracking the video. Now, if we take a look at what has happened here, this tracking has made, like we just saw, a bunch of little points. So let's actually move this over to the null layer, because then we'll be able to adjust it a little bit better. So what we're going to do over here is where we're going to go to, it's where it says edit target, and we're going to click on edit target, and we're going to tell this to track to the layer null 1. What that's going to do is it's going to send all those little points to the null layer. And then we're going to press apply. And you wanted to apply the dimensions of X and Y? Yep. So now if you notice, the null layer is moving at all those places. So now we can open up the null layer and we can take a look at what it's done. It's basically created a whole bunch of keyframes for position. So what this does is it allows you to track stuff without you having to do all that hard work. Because you might have something that you want to follow, and if you had to do it frame by frame, you'd go nuts. So what we can see here is what it's going to do and where it's going to follow. So what we can do now is use our objects and apply them so that they will follow this track. So let's go ahead and bring in our fire GIF. Okay, now and let's go ahead and lock all the other layers for a second. Now I want the fire to not have a black background. Now here's something tricky. If you went into effects and presets and you tried to do key light suppressor on the fire and use the eyedropper on the black, it's not going to work. And the reason is the key suppressor effects don't really like to work with black. So I'm actually going to not apply those effects. I'm going to press Command Z, excuse me. And to cut out black, and I wrote this on the notes, I'm going to look for Luma Key, L-U-M-A, Luma Key. Okay, and I'm going to drag the Luma Key onto the fire. Then key out darker, that's exactly what I want to do, and I'm going to increase the threshold, and eventually it'll cut the black for you. So if you're trying to cut against black, use Luma Key. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tell the fire to follow the null. Now the one thing I'm going to do before I do that though is I'm going to adjust the center point of my fire because I want the fire to be centered right around there. And now I'm going to tell the fire to be parented to the null. And you can see that it's going to start following. Now obviously my fire is not long enough for this entire video, but you can see that it's already starting to follow. So let's go ahead and let's put it in the right position that we want it to be in the beginning. You can even make it a little bit smaller. And you'll see that it's following her around. Now if it falls off, right? You see it fell off there? Well, we're going to have to manually fix it. So we're going to open this up, we're going to zoom into our layers here, and we're going to see what's happening. Each of those keyframes is a movement of that fire, right? So in that moment where it fell off, we're going to want to adjust the position. So I'm going to lock my fire GIF, I'm going to lock everything else, go to my null layer, and this is the one that I want to move, this specific one right now. So I'm going to use my position slider to put it right where I think it should be. It's a lot easier than dealing with all those points. And that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to adjust the position again. And it looked like it was quite a few of them that kind of fell off there. So just going to adjust the ones that need adjustment. Now this might go a lot easier for you if you try to track another part of her movement. So go ahead and experiment with the different things that you might be wanting to track. For example, you might want to track the actual VR headset, the little hand that she's holding. You might want to do it in a different place. But now you'll be able to track stuff onto an object, and you'll also be able to adjust it. So again, if we wanted to do that again, let's try one more time just for practice's sake. So let's go back to the video, and you'll notice there's already a motion tracker on there from before. I'm going to get rid of it because we already have it in the null. And I'm going to go to track motion again. Now when I go to track motion, I'm going to adjust the tracker point because I actually wanted to track something different this time. I wanted to track her hand. Make the hand a little bit smaller there, and this area a little bit smaller. Let's say we want to track this point, this part of her arm. How about that? Okay. And let's go back to the right place. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our notes here. We're going to set it into the right place. Then what we're going to do is we're going to press the play button to start tracking this thing. So track motion. We already did that. Press play. Now again, if it's going off in the wrong direction, let's undo it. Let's try to put it in the right place. Let's try to make that a little bit bigger to cover her whole hand. Let's try that again. I like that a lot better. Do you see the difference there? By making it bigger, I'm able just to focus on her hand. So that's actually good for our practice right now. You'll see those points are following her hand. And then what we would do is we'd go back up into our settings. Let's go ahead and make a new null. And in this new null layer, we're going to send that tracking data to that new null layer. So again, we go back to our video, go back to that tracker that we just made. This is the tracker that was tracking our hands. And then we're going to edit the target of this tracker. So double click your video so you'll see it open up the footage. And now we're going to track that to that new null. So we're going to go to edit target. Null 2. Press OK. Press apply. Boop. Messed it up. Okay. Now the fire is going to be already stuck to null number 2. So let's just move it so we know where we want it to start. And there you go, right? So it's stuck to her hands. And so now we have the fire for the head and for the hands. They're both stuck on there. So this is the next project, everybody. I want you to try to do the nulls so that you can do some tracking, motion tracking, and I also want you to do some green screen experiments. And let me know if you have any problems, and I'll see you soon.